Everyone forgot this ancient starship, except one human who heard its call. But Elias chased stories, the kind of stories that made people shake their heads and call him foolish. Today, he was chasing a ghost. The coordinates had come from a fragment of a map he had found in a derelict trade station near the edge of the Coran expanse. The map was incomplete, but one thing was clear. It pointed to a starship old beyond memory, so ancient that no record of it existed in any database. Most civilizations had simply forgotten it. Everyone, that is, except Elias. His ship, the Vigilant, hummed quietly as it cut through the darkness of uncharted space. He leaned against the console, eyes scanning the flickering readouts. There it was, a faint pulse, a rhythm almost like a heartbeat coming from the dead sector ahead. It wasn't the kind of signal a computer could recognize easily. It didn't have coordinates, frequencies, or codes. It was subtle, almost alive, and Elias felt it. "Finally," he whispered, his voice echoing softly in the empty cockpit. "Someone's waiting for me." The Vigilant was a small ship by galactic standards, designed for exploration rather than combat. Its hull was sleek, reinforced for long journeys through uncharted space, but it carried only a handful of drones and a modest energy shield. Elias didn't need much. He didn't plan to fight anyone yet. All he needed was to reach the ship. Hours passed as the starship on his map grew closer. The void outside the viewport was silent except for distant specks of light, dead stars, forgotten moons, and drifting debris from civilizations long gone. Elias ran routine checks on the sensors, but each time he did, the pulse grew stronger. It was as if the ancient ship was calling him directly, recognizing him in a way no alien, human, or AI could. Finally, the silhouette appeared, massive, immense. Its hull was scarred with craters and burns from millennia of drifting through debris fields. Large sections were missing, exposing the skeleton of the ship to the cold void. But even in its damaged state, it radiated presence. It was not just a vessel, it was a monument, a living history. Elias' heart beat faster. "By the stars, she's real." The Vigilant approached carefully. The sensors picked up nothing moving aboard the ship. No engines, no active systems. It was completely dormant, or so it seemed. Elias docked the Vigilant to a secure docking port on the starship's hull, fastening clamps with a soft hiss. The airlock opened with an eerie groan, and he stepped inside, helmet on, lights flicking along the walls. Inside, the corridors were massive. Not like the narrow tunnels of modern ships. These hallways were cathedral-like, ceilings high and arches carved with patterns no human had seen. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, pulsing in sync with the faint heartbeat of the ship itself. Elias walked carefully, every step echoing in the silence. "This place, it's alive," he murmured. He activated his portable scanner, which immediately went wild. Readings fluctuated wildly, like the ship was breathing, adjusting, responding to his presence. Small lights flickered on in response to his movement, illuminating the path ahead. Then he saw it, a control room, enormous, filled with consoles that defied logic. The buttons and screens had no language he recognized, yet some of them pulsed as if inviting him to touch them. He reached out, hesitating. His hand hovered over one panel and the lights flared, washing the room in a soft blue glow. The ship responded. Then, almost imperceptibly, a low hum began, vibrating through the floor beneath him. It was a call, and he was answering. Hours passed as Elias explored the bridge. Panels flickered to life with ghostly energy, displaying star maps and data streams that shifted constantly. One display caught his eye, a series of stars connected in a pattern that resembled constellations long forgotten. He traced his fingers along the paths, and the ship responded again, a deeper hum resonating through its core. He realized something incredible. The ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a sentient artifact, a guardian left behind by a civilization that no longer existed. And it had chosen him. But as Elias delved deeper, he noticed the faintest signs of danger. The ship's outer hull had cracks, and sensors indicated structural instability in certain sections. Parts of the AI system were offline, and some areas were sealed with locks that refused his attempts to override them. Whatever had commanded this vessel long ago had left instructions encoded, waiting for someone capable to awaken it fully. Then came the first unexpected visitor. A faint signal appeared on his sensors, moving fast. Not a human ship, not an alien ship, at least by its signature, just a probe or maybe a scout detecting the sudden reactivation of the Starship. Elias frowned. The galaxy might have forgotten this relic, but it seemed some had noticed its pulse now. He ignored the warning for now. There was too much to discover. He entered a central chamber, larger than any hangar he had seen. In the center rested a massive energy core, dormant yet humming faintly. The chamber's walls were lined with stasis pods, some cracked open, most still intact. Strange, alien shapes slept within, their forms humanoid but not human, frozen in suspended animation for centuries. Elias approached the nearest pod, touching the transparent surface. A faint ripple passed through the glass, and for a moment he swore the alien inside stirred. The core hummed louder, vibrating through his feet. The ship was alive, but it was also waiting, communicating in ways he could almost feel. "This isn't just a ship," he whispered. "It's a bridge to a forgotten time, a message to the present." He spent hours moving through the corridors, discovering more. Weapon systems that had never fired, shields capable of enveloping entire planets, engines that could jump across light years in moments. The technology was far beyond anything current civilizations possessed. And yet it was dormant, waiting for someone to awaken it. Suddenly, the hum became a resonance, almost like a heartbeat syncing with his own. The ship's AI, or whatever consciousness lingered within, spoke in a voice that was neither male nor female, human nor alien. "You are the one who listens." Elias froze. The voice had no sound waves, it wasn't spoken aloud. It existed in his mind, clear and undeniable. I heard you," he said, unsure if the word came from his lips or his thoughts. "Then you may awaken what was forgotten." The message was simple yet profound. The ship had chosen him not for his strength, his weapons, or his fame, but for his curiosity, his persistence, his humanity. Elias felt a surge of pride but also a weight of responsibility. If the galaxy discovered this relic, countless factions would try to seize it, and most of them would underestimate a single human guiding the greatest weapon and knowledge hub the galaxy had ever seen. Hours turned into the galactic equivalent of days as Elias explored, learning and forming a bond with the ancient ship. Every discovery was a piece of history, a whisper of civilizations lost, and a challenge to current ones. And all the while the pulse never stopped, a constant reminder that the ship was alive, aware, and listening to him alone. Then the first warning came. Sensors detected multiple signatures approaching the sector, small, fast-moving craft, scanning for the signal that Elias had just reawakened. Raiders, scavengers, or perhaps explorers from one of the galaxy's great powers. The ship's hum deepened and the lights flickered in a warning rhythm. Elias smiled. "They don't know it yet," he said, "but humans never forget, and we never back down." With that, Elias began preparing the ship for whatever or whoever was coming. He didn't know if the approaching ships intended to steal, destroy, or simply investigate. But he knew one thing: humanity was about to make its first mark on a legacy older than the galaxy itself. And the ship, forgotten by all except him, would rise once more. Captain Elias Varn stood on the bridge of the ancient starship, feeling its pulse under his feet. The hum had grown deeper, almost like a living heartbeat. He had spent days, by his own reckoning, though time seemed different inside the ship, exploring the corridors, reading the strange displays and learning the rhythms of the vessel. Now, for the first time, he felt ready to awaken more of its power. The first challenge was simple in theory but complex in execution, bringing the ship's AI fully online. The core pulsed with energy, but much of it was dormant. As he activated more consoles, lights danced along the walls, revealing hallways he had never seen. Alien inscriptions glowed, responding to his presence, almost as if the ship itself was teaching him its language. "You're smarter than I expected," he said quietly, addressing the soft hum. "Let's see what you can really do." The AI responded, not with words this time, but with a flood of images and sensations. Elias felt visions of distant stars, long-dead civilizations, and fleets of vessels, guarding the galaxy from threats that no one alive today even knew existed. The ship had once been a sentinel, a protector designed to prevent galactic wars before they began, and now it had chosen him as its captain. But the galaxy was not going to wait for him to understand its purpose. Scanners detected incoming ships. Small, agile vessels closing fast. Whoever was out there had noticed the Starship's sudden awakening. They were likely scavengers or explorers from a neighboring system, drawn by the legend of a forgotten giant. Elias didn't panic. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, seen as clever but fragile. That underestimation had saved lives more than once. He moved to the ship's command console, learning the controls as if they were extensions of his own body. The ancient vessel responded to him in ways no alien could. Its weapons systems, dormant for centuries, hummed softly as he activated shields and rerouted energy flows. Every action was new, but the ship's guidance made him feel like a seasoned commander. The first wave of attackers arrived at the edge of the ship's sensor range. They were small but well-armed, designed for raids and fast strikes. Elias smiled. "Let's show them why humans survive." With a few taps and gestures, the ship shifted its massive hull, moving as though it were alive. The attackers fired, but their shots bounced harmlessly off the ship's shields. Elias had learned the ship's systems quickly. Energy could be rerouted, weapons could be deployed in unexpected ways, and the ship's mass could create gravitational disturbances to disorient foes. One ship tried to flank him. Elias activated the ancient defenses, and a wave of energy radiated outward. The smaller vessel spun uncontrollably, engines overloading before drifting silently into space. The rest hesitated. They had expected an old relic, a ship no longer functional. They hadn't expected a human at its helm. "Humans always find a way," he muttered. While the immediate threat was contained, Elias knew more were coming. The Starship systems had memory, data about old threats and defensive strategies that predated current galactic tactics. Using that, he began creating traps and countermeasures, turning the ghostly vessel into a fortress no modern attacker could easily penetrate. Exploring deeper into the ship, Elias discovered stasis chambers still holding alien guardians, long asleep. He hesitated. These beings were not hostile, they were protectors. He could awaken them, but he wondered if it would be wise. Instead, he accessed data logs stored within the ship. Streams of history poured into his mind. Battles fought and lost, civilizations protected, threats neutralized before they became known. The ship had been the ultimate guardian, but it had waited patient for a species capable of understanding and guiding it. Elias realized the significance. The ship's creators had known that only a being with intuition, courage, and adaptability, qualities humans possessed, could awaken it fully. He felt a surge of pride. Humanity, underestimated and dismissed, was the key to unlocking an ancient legacy. The second wave of attackers arrived, larger and better coordinated. They had learned from the first skirmish, expecting more than a relic. Their weapons were heavier and their formations tight. But Elias had prepared. Using the ship's ancient defenses and his own ingenuity, he created energy decoys, redirecting incoming fire into empty sectors. He activated gravity fields, pulling enemy ships into temporary traps while keeping the ancient vessel safe. One particularly daring ship managed to breach the outer shields. Elias focused all his attention, manipulating the starship's weapons to intercept. A pulse cannon fired, disintegrating the enemy craft before it could reach them. The bridge shook with the energy release and he grinned. Not today. Despite the victories, Elias knew he couldn't fight forever. The starship was powerful, but it had limits. He needed allies, or at least a strategy to survive against the galaxy's curiosity and greed. The ship responded to his thoughts again, showing him potential jump points, hidden caches, and systems he could exploit to move undetected. Together, they were learning each other. Humanity and the ancient vessel, two minds, one purpose. Elias accessed the ship's maps. One star system stood out, a location marked in red indicating a potential threat. It was a remnant of a civilization that had once sought to dominate the galaxy, now extinct, or so everyone thought. The ship's pulse quickened as if recognizing danger. Elias nodded. Then we'll wake fully, we'll face it, together. For the next cycles of the ship's time, Elias worked tirelessly. He activated long-dormant engines, tested the ship's sublight thrusters, and engaged jump drives in controlled bursts. Each success brought new understanding. The ancient vessel was no longer just a ship, it was a partner, a sentient guardian that trusted him completely. Meanwhile, the galaxy began to react. Rumors of a living starship spread like wildfire. Some dismissed it as legend, others sent expeditions to confirm. Elias anticipated this. Using the ship's stealth capabilities and his knowledge of human unpredictability, he maneuvered through sectors, avoiding detection while gathering intelligence. He learned to think like the galaxy's powers, predicting their movements, staying always one step ahead. But the ancient vessel had more to teach. In the central chamber, he found a control panel he had not accessed before. Symbols danced across it, forming sequences that seemed almost musical. As he touched them, he experienced flashes of memory, not his own but the ship's. Battles fought across centuries, sacrifices made, victories claimed. The ship was more than a guardian, it was a historian, carrying the legacy of entire civilizations. He realized something crucial. This knowledge, combined with human creativity, could reshape the galaxy. Humans could be the protectors, the unexpected champions, capable of mastering technology far beyond their current understanding. And the Starship had chosen him not for power, but for potential, the human potential to adapt, to learn, and to lead. Suddenly, a new wave of enemy ships appeared. This time, it was not raiders or scouts. It was a small fleet, heavily armed, moving with purpose. The Starship pulsed urgently, recognizing the threat. Elias knew these were not merely opportunists. They were hunters coming for the ancient vessel. He took a deep breath and moved to the command console. "Time to show them what humans can do," he said. The battle began. Energy cannons fired, shields shimmered, and the vessel moved with surprising agility. Elias used everything he had learned: decoy pulses, gravitational distortions, predictive targeting. The enemy fleet was skilled, but they underestimated a human who could think beyond rigid tactics, a human who could anticipate, improvise, and strike with precision. A small enemy ship tried to approach the core directly. Elias calculated the trajectory, activating a pulse that sent it spinning harmlessly into space. Another ship attempted a flank maneuver, only to find itself caught in a sudden gravity well generated by the Starship. Chaos erupted among the attackers. Through it all, Elias felt the connection with the ship deepen. Its pulse synced with his heartbeat, its lights reflecting his emotions. Together they were unstoppable, not because of raw power alone, but because humans could think, adapt, and innovate in ways machines or aliens could not predict. As the battle ended, the remaining enemy ships retreated, confused and battered. Elias allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He had defended the ship, proven humanity's cleverness and learned the vessel's full potential. But he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed, and more challenges were coming. Ancient threats, forgotten civilizations, and curious factions would all test the bond between human and Starship. Elias understood the weight of responsibility now. He was not just a captain. He was a guardian of a legacy older than any living being, and the galaxy's perception of humanity was about to change forever. He looked out at the stars through the bridge viewport. Somewhere out there, civilizations that had long dismissed humans would soon see them as more than clever survivors, would see them as guardians, strategists, and masters of technology beyond imagination. "Let them come," Elias whispered. "They'll see what humans are capable of." The starship pulsed in response, a low, resonant hum that seemed to echo across the void. Elias smiled. Together they would awaken the galaxy to a new era, and humanity, long underestimated, would rise at last. The galaxy was waking up. Whispers of a living starship, one piloted by a single human, spread faster than fire in dry fuel. From distant systems, fleets and scouts began moving toward the forgotten sector. Some came out of curiosity, some out of greed, and some out of fear. All of them underestimated the human. Captain Elias Varn stood on the bridge of the colossal starship, feeling its pulse sync with his own. He had spent what felt like cycles preparing, learning the ship, and discovering its secrets. Every system he activated was a testament to human adaptability. Now he was ready for what he had known would come, the real test. The first scouts arrived at the perimeter, small vessels designed to probe defenses. Elias didn't panic. With a few gestures, the ship responded. Energy pulses radiated outward, creating invisible barriers. The scouts hesitated, their sensors unable to penetrate the massive vessel's defenses. Elias smiled. Humans had survived because they could think faster, improvise, and adapt, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to hit them. "Let's begin," he said, a quiet determination in his voice. As the first wave of enemy ships attempted an attack, the starship moved with a fluid grace that belied its immense size. It wasn't just a machine, it was alive. Pulses of energy lashed out in patterns the attackers could not predict. Shields reconfigured themselves to absorb the strongest hits, while gravity fields distorted enemy maneuvers. Every countermeasure was clever, every move intentional, and every move came from Elias' mind, paired with the ship's instincts. One enemy ship managed to get close to the bridge section. Elias activated the core's defensive pulse. A wave of energy surged outward, spinning the intruder like a toy before ejecting it into empty space. Another squadron tried to flank the ship, but gravity traps and redirected energy beams dismantled their formation. By the time the attackers realized what was happening, their forces were scattered, demoralized, and half destroyed. Elias didn't stop. He had learned long ago that in battle, hesitation was death. Using the ship's advanced systems, he mapped the enemy fleet in real time, predicting movements and adjusting energy flows accordingly. The attackers had technology centuries ahead of most human fleets, but they could not predict ingenuity. Human instinct, paired with ancient intelligence, was a weapon no one could resist. While the battle raged, Elias ventured into the ship's central core chamber. Here, he could interface directly with the ship's consciousness. Symbols glowed along the walls, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Streams of information poured into his mind. Star maps, strategic battle plans, histories of civilizations lost long before humans even reached the stars. "You wanted a captain," Elias said aloud. "Well, I'm here." The ship responded in kind, energy coursing through the conduits, lights flickering in approval. Together, they were not just a human commanding a vessel. They were a single entity, a partnership of intuition and ancient power. The enemy fleet had regrouped, more numerous and aggressive than before. Elias understood that this was the moment the galaxy had feared. If he failed, the ship, and the knowledge it contained, would fall into alien hands. But humans were never meant to fail when survival and honor were at stake. He activated a network of decoy pulses, creating illusions of multiple starships where only one existed. Enemy fire was drawn to empty space, while the real vessel moved silently, striking from unexpected angles. A small attack fleet tried to approach the core, but Elias anticipated their path, activating energy barriers that neutralized their engines and sent them spinning helplessly. In the chaos, one massive cruiser attempted to ram the starship, hoping to break through defenses. Elias thought quickly. He rerouted power to the sublight thrusters, shifting the vessel just enough to let the cruiser pass by harmlessly. Then, using precise targeting, he struck its engine core, sending it drifting into a nearby asteroid belt. The humans' improvisation and the starship's ancient systems combined to turn what could have been a disaster into a victory. As the last of the attacking fleet retreated, Elias realized that the battle had shown something crucial. Humanity was not weak. Humans could not only survive, they could master forces far beyond ordinary comprehension, combining intellect, instinct, and courage in ways no alien species could predict. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. After the immediate threat had passed, Elias took a moment to explore the upper decks. Here, he found a map, a star chart encoded in the ship itself. It showed locations of other ancient vessels, relics that had been scattered and forgotten. Some were weapons, others guardians like this one. The pulse of the ship quickened as he traced the lines. They were waiting, and now it seemed they had a human to guide them. "You left me a legacy," Elias said softly, "and I will make sure it lives on." While the ship hummed in response, he understood something profound. This was bigger than victory over one fleet. This was about humanity claiming its place among the stars. The galaxy had long dismissed humans as fragile, clever, and unpredictable. But now, humans had proven something that no legend could deny. They could rise, adapt, and command even the oldest powers in the universe. Days passed in what felt like hours. Elias and the starship moved through sectors, avoiding detection and preparing for the challenges he knew were coming. Other factions, alerted by the battle, were mobilizing, but Elias felt no fear. The bond with the ancient vessel had grown stronger. Its systems, once foreign and inscrutable, now responded instinctively to him. Together, they could face anything. Then came the most unexpected revelation. As the starship accessed deeper archives, Elias discovered that the vessel's original purpose was not conquest but protection. Long ago, it had been tasked with guarding a vulnerable species during galactic upheaval. And the ship had waited, not for a perfect commander, but for one capable of understanding, empathy, and courage. That species, Elias realized, was humanity. The ship had been waiting for a human all along. The knowledge filled him with awe. Humanity, long dismissed, had been silently chosen by forces older than any empire or fleet. The ancient starship had recognized human qualities that no other species possessed: ingenuity, courage, and an ability to adapt against impossible odds. Elias felt a surge of pride, tempered by responsibility. If the galaxy knew this, humans could change everything. But proof would be required. Another wave of ships appeared, larger than ever, moving deliberately, with the intent to claim the vessel and its secrets. Elias knew this was the final test. He activated the ship fully, energy cascading along its hull, lights shimmering like a living constellation. The pulse grew stronger, resonating across space, a signal that this vessel was alive and ready. The battle began. The enemy fleet pressed forward, confident, armed with weapons designed to crush ordinary ships. But Elias anticipated their moves, combining the ship's advanced systems with human creativity. Gravity wells pulled attackers into each other. Energy shields absorbed volleys of fire, then redirected them with precision. Decoy pulses tricked enemy sensors, sending formations into chaos. One massive cruiser tried to bypass the defenses and strike the core. Elias thought quickly. He activated a series of energy pulses that flung the cruiser off course, then fired targeted beams that immobilized its engines. Another ship attempted a surprise attack, only to find itself trapped in a shifting gravity field, spinning helplessly. By the end of the battle, the enemy fleet lay in ruin, scattered across the void. Elias looked out at the stars, breathing steadily. The galaxy had seen a human command what it thought impossible. The starship hummed in approval, its pulse in perfect rhythm with his own. "We did it," he said quietly. "Together." But Elias knew this was just the beginning. The starship had awakened him to a larger truth. Humanity was no longer the overlooked species. They were guardians, explorers, and innovators capable of mastering forces older than themselves. The galaxy would never dismiss them again. As he plotted a course for the nearest neutral system, Elias considered the future. Other ancient vessels waited, scattered across the galaxy, their purposes unknown. But now humanity had a guide, a partner, and the determination to claim what was theirs. The forgotten starship had chosen wisely. In the bridge, lights pulsed, corridors shimmered, and the hum of life filled every chamber. Elias smiled, feeling the weight of history and the thrill of destiny. He had answered the call, awakened a legacy, and proved that humans could rise where others had failed. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, civilizations that had once dismissed humans would begin to realize a simple truth. When a human listens, when a human acts, even the oldest forces bend to their will. The ancient starship and the human captain moved as one, a partnership that promised not only survival but legend. Humanity's story among the stars had only begun, and the galaxy would remember that one human had answered a call forgotten by everyone else. Elias leaned back on the bridge console, watching the stars. "Let them see us," he whispered. "Let them see what humans are truly capable of." And the starship responded, a deep, resonant pulse that echoed across the void, a song of awakening, of humanity, and of a future where no one would ever forget them again.